Hello, everyone. I need to tweet that I am on here. See if anybody might be interested in watching me plan for my campaigns. And I am tweeting. It's just going to take a second longer. Yeah, there we go. Tweet has been tweetified. Okay. Whoa, a raid. Hello, how's it going, y'all? You caught me unaware. How is it? What is up, my friends? You caught me unaware. I just need to do a little bit of housekeeping as I figure out what I need to switch around. So goals today. We finished our Wednesday game actually. So Jaro, if you're hanging around, you can totally watch the stream. No worries. Medic Buddha, hello. How's it going? Start 40k game. That's a big goal for this week. And boss for Friday game. That was also finished. Well, it's good to see you, Medic Buddha. I am very happy with the raid that just occurred. I'm gonna lurk, but be in and out. Yeah, that's absolutely a-okay by me. Let's see. What's another goal for today? Let's say we're gonna reorganize games. We're gonna do that today. I think. Got to get you up to affiliate. Yeah, one of these days. One of these days. Directions for Wednesday 1 game. I think that's still a pretty sound goal. I still need to kind of do that. Question of the day. Question of the day. Last week's was what is your favorite candy? I think today, go to. Well, let's rephrase that. What is your go-to fast food choice? Question mark. All right, here we are. We are doing campaign planning for my eight games a week. Let's see when and if Looney shows up, so that I can know whether or not I can work on that. I see a lot of people here. TK, really awesome to see you. I know you've popped into my streams in the past, so it's good to see you again. Let's see. All right, Monday game. We haven't really played since the last time. It's been a really weird couple of weeks because last week we had President's Day. And we also had a teacher planning day on Tuesday. So it's a school game where I work, and so I run that for students and staff. But we didn't play last week because it's nominally Mondays and Tuesdays. Monday was President's Day, Tuesday was a teacher planning day, and then today nobody wanted to stay except for the teachers, so we didn't really run. But everybody was excited about everybody was excited about the game tomorrow. They're like, "Hey, are we playing tomorrow?" I'm like, "I hope so," but they were all asking, so hopefully we can just take this information and just keep it going. So there's going to be a big astral plane fight between Zugtamoy, the demon lord, lordess lady of fungus, and Aramikos, one of the largest contiguous creatures in the Underdark, or maybe all of Toril. So that's going to be really fun. So Aramikos will cast Tensor's Transformation on everyone. Um, and they will have the ability to fight on the astral plane with like kind of boosted stats to try and fight against Zugtamoy. So that should be fun. Um, let's see. So there are stakes. If Zugtamoy wins, Aramikos turns into a vassal, and a gate into the abyss will open. If Zugtamoy loses, she retreats maybe into the labyrinth, and that's going to be a really cool thing for later. What comes next? So the group will be drawn to a library where they can do some research on all of this wackiness, including the Illithid hive that threatened their hometown. Let's see. All right. See what people want after part 4. Okay. No, these are all notes from a different thing, kind of, sort of. I still need to make a Jedi character. I might even do that right after the stream because I've been threatening to do that for a while. For one of the students who just wants to be a Jedi. Thankfully, so his prior character was Harry Potter, just literally Harry Potter. But he decided to switch to a Jedi, and he didn't want to be a specific Jedi. So I feel like that's progress. Big game, Wrath and Glory, 40 Warhammer 40k game. So we've got a pretty steady group of people. It's going to be really cool. We're going to play for the first time. Wrath and Glory, I've always been interested in that. Yeah, Medic Buddha, if you have any questions about Wrath and Glory, I've run it once for like a very short-term campaign. So Jaro waifu raid. I'm really sorry I don't have any waifus for you. So Jaro has you spoilt on waifus. But yeah, let's see. This is the whole roster, though. So there's 2 Eldari. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. 2 Space Marine scouts. 3 what you might call Imperial types. And then 1... Dang it. 1 orc. So, dang it. So we're talking a total of 8. Blood for the Blood God, Skull for the Skull Throne. Yes, absolutely. So this is going to be a really weird and eclectic group. The orc is definitely going to be the most unorthodox choice for a 40k game. I feel like if there's one thing that's allowed in the main book for Wrath and Glory, it's like I kind of wish they hadn't included orcs, but here we are. We're gonna make it work. Glory to the Omnissiah. Yeah, absolutely. You see this Skitarii in here? The Skitarii is going to be all about the Omnissiah. All right, so the group, we're just to recap what's going on in this game. We haven't started, but we will tomorrow. So the ship, the group starts on a rogue trader ship. Purple orcs are sneaking because no one has seen a purple orc. I like that. I like that idea. So the group starts on a rogue trader ship. The ship is being evacuated from a planet that is being invaded by the Dark Eldar, or the Drukhari if you prefer. Dark Eldar, just if nobody knows, they're basically like if the Purge movies were a race of people. I'm happy there is one Skitarii, yeah. The Imperial Guardsman character is actually being played by someone who, the last time I ran Wrath and Glory, he played a tech priest, and he did a really good job. I was really happy with that tech priest. So anyhow, Rogue Trader ship is evacuating a planet, or at least helping to do so. There's a small, like very small Imperial escort that's taking the Rogue Trader to safety. 2 Space Marine scouts. They must find a map. Why? If they can get their hands on the map, it'll lead them to a Necron Dreadnought. And the Necron Dreadnought, they think they can reprogram to take them through the Great Rift. And to kind of elucidate on that, the Great Rift was created when the Guardsman world of Cadia was destroyed, along with some other stuff. But anyways, basically the Great Rift is like a light years wide rift into the Immaterium, the warp, and it has separated a big chunk of the Imperium from Terra, and so the game presumes that you are on that other side of the Great Rift, or the Cicatrix Maledictum. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just answering a text. Okay. So, anyways, everybody's looking for a way to reconnect with Terra, but they can't, at least not right now. And so this Necron ship might be the only way, and it's kind of a long shot. The Necron ship has faster than light engines that avoids the warp, which is really what they need. Gilead system separated from Holy Terra, just as I was saying, by a massive warp rift. The Cicatrix Maledictum. Necron ship may be a way to either evacuate or establish trade with the Imperium. Reboot Gilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines, might be there. I don't know. I haven't decided. Here's a little note. Do I want the Primarch? A Primarch in the Gilead system? Not yet. Yep. Okay, so that was a thing that I said that I just now remembered. Rogue trader ships, if you don't know, are independent of the Imperium, provide mercantile services throughout the galaxy, melting pot to which the Imperium at large turns a blind eye. So you could have Eldari and Xenos and such on a rogue trader ship sometimes, depending on the Xenos. On the ship, people who claim they are Imperium researchers attached to the Adeptus Mechanicus have a damaged Necron with them. The Necron is in stasis, has a map that can open a tomb world. Said tomb world holds potential neutral and non-sentient weapons that could aid, so that's where the Dreadnought ship comes in. The Orc, so this has been my biggest problem, is trying to integrate this Orc into the campaign, because any Imperium or Eldari worth their salt is going to take one look at that Orc and want to eliminate them immediately. So the Orc has something embedded in his DNA or something that will help to open the tomb. Otherwise, they won't be able to do it. Maybe some kind of remnant of Old One energy. I don't know. I can talk about the old ones in a little bit, but that's a big kind of secret to the setting. So they do need to get a second fragment of the map that belongs to a wealthy family on an agri world. So I made a bunch of prominent figures, basically NPCs with whom the group can interact. Sister Rose Claren is going to be one of them. She's basically a really nice sister of battle, which I really want to play with that concept, because she's so nice as a sister of battle that her superiors want her killed. They just want to send her somewhere to die because they think that she's a massive liability. They sent her with Repentia sisters because they know the Repentia sisters are glad to die with her and will lead her into said suicide missions. But Sister Rose has not, as such, died and has kind of survived, possibly by the grace of the Emperor. We don't know. Nobody really does. I just wanted to highlight that I came up with the term Torquemada Space Armada for the Inquisition because it's just too funny. Battle Sisters are battle nuns brought into service by an anti-pope in the centuries past. That's a big story, but we'll get into that another time. There's kind of an NPC group that I want the players to run into, which is the Veldin family. And the Veldin family, Eli Martin, that's just nice to say too. Yeah, Torquemada Space Armada just has like it's got such a ring to it. So the Veldin family is tied up with the Imperium. They rose to prominence. They made a whole ton of money, and they have this long pedigree of contributing soldiers or experts into the Imperium. For instance, the family has 2 Space Marines, 6 Inquisitors, and 2 Mechanicus um, that have become part of the Imperium army, and so that has given the Veldin family a lot of clout. So I kind of made a handful of NPCs that they might run into. Um, let's see, Approximator class. Um, 4618 Veldin. So they took his name away, and they gave him a number and took away his name. Um, but Approximator class 4628 is now a Mechanicus. He's now more machine than man, in mind and in body. But despite the fact that he is mostly machine, he still has a vendetta against Commissar Luke, who is like, I don't know, his cousin, let's say. Commissar Luke, if you know anything about commissars, they are all to be feared, but Commissar Luke has dedicated what remains of his life to hunting down a traitor, a guardsman who betrayed his platoon to Slaanesh. Which, if you know anything about the setting, you know why that's a big deal. He got special dispensation to basically be like a commissar bounty hunter just for this one guy. But if they run into him, the commissar is going to be a huge problem, because if he notices the Eldari or the orcs, he's going to cause a big stink. He may not do it himself. He might not be the one that blams them, but he'll call in like reinforcement. So the lady in question, who they're going to get the other part of the map from, as mentioned up here, is going to be Lady Hyacinth. Let me see, where did I? Yeah. Lady Hyacinth, a noble with a thoroughbred lineage. Or at least her husband has a thoroughbred lineage. Let's just make that known. Married into a thoroughbred lineage. Can trace husband's family to 200 years ago when they came from Terra. Mean but desperate. Needs to figure out a series of murders on a giga farm on her planet. Quote of the day: Taco Bell et al. Can't beat beans, meat, cheese, tortilla. Oh, question of the day. Yeah, Taco Bell is fantastic. I've kind of shied away from it for a while though. Like every time I drive by a Taco Bell and I'm hungry, I'm like, I don't know. I think it might just be like the mood that I'm in lately. But I need to figure that out, because I'd like to go and have Taco Bell at some point and feel like it. Maybe I need to have a few drinks first. I don't know. So basically, they go to Hyacinth. They know that she's got a piece of the map. It won't do her any good, and she knows that. At least she knows to a degree. But she's willing to offer it to them if they can solve these murders. I buy a family pack and eat it in shame. Oh my goodness! But I see, when I used to work at the video game store, talking about Taco Bell, we used to get the $5 box. We would call it the poverty box. And that was me and my coworker. We would just like, all right, poverty box? Yeah, poverty box. Let's see. You know, so the one thing I really like about Hyacinth, as I kind of developed her, is that she used to be a bounty hunter. And then she ended up marrying into this family. And so she's all kinds of rough and tumble. But what I don't know is, maybe you can help me out with this, chat. Should her husband still be alive? Should he just be like a fop and she's like this badass bounty hunter and she married into this family nominally to be left to her own devices and just be independently wealthy? Or should he be dead? He could still be a fop either way. But if he's dead, he could not be a fop. He could have just been like also rough and tumble, like a black sheep that ended up inheriting all of the family's wealth, and so now she got it because he died. But it feels like they can't both be alive if he's not a fop. Depends, do you want to tell the rags to riches story that goes with it? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, it already kind of is. She's really like a Calamity Jane who came into money. Um, like like really a Winona Earp. Uh, but like she's gonna want to go with the group to be kind of a hired gun, like just for the fun of it. They may say no, but I just at least want it to be plainly clear that hey, if she went with you, she would be an asset. Plus, she is going to potentially have skills that they don't. So if no one in the party knows how to pilot a giant spacecraft, they might need her to do it, especially as they maybe pull away from the rogue trader ship and kind of become more independent of it. But that's something to think about. Briffandelia Casvarin. So we developed this NPC last week, and Briffandelia is basically a sociopath, um, Drukari, but she pretends to be a not like a regular space elf and not a space dark elf. But basically, she is going to try and lure the group into a trap, um, and probably also like lead other Drukari to them. So I don't know what. Let's just make a note. Um, Bets on how long she lives. So, because Briffandelia is going to put herself in tremendous danger by coming across the player group. And this is going to be one of those NPCs that I'm going to try and bounce off as many times as I can, but it's entirely possible that A, they'll see through her ruse immediately. B, when she, lifts the disguise, boom, she's instantly dead. We'll see how that all plays out. But it should be fun to see. Let's just take bets on how long Briffandelia actually manages to last. How many encounters with a group? I'm gonna say 3. But let's create. Let's see, Mercurius Deltor is an orc. Conspiracy theory obsessed. Pocket sand. Buck naked. He's really cool. I'm gonna make another one. Um, let's go ahead and determine or define this guardsman who turned to Slanesh. Um, Galvanus Reston, aka Lick of the Whip, self-titled. A guardsman who was turned down for Space Marine Scouts. Oops. Assignment. Resented it and decided to turn to Slanesh to gain power and glory and leisure, because let's just face it, that's what you do when you turn to Slanesh. Was given a minor favor in becoming, let's see, in what's the in corruption, but is being tested to be worthy of becoming a Chaos Space Marine. Might, and that's a really big might. See, actually, let's go ahead and scooch down. Might get the attention of Lucius. Lucius. And that's a big deal if you know who Lucius is. I didn't until recently, but Lucius is like a very amazingly powerful space marine to the whatever Slaaneshi space marine clan. I don't remember their name. But all right, so we've got the roster. So that was all for the second session. Actually, was like this whole thing with Hyacinth and so on. The first session, they're going to be on the ship. The Drukhari basically seeded some of the refugees with parasites to create blood pets to sow discord amongst the refugees, kind of like Dead Space but less virulent. So basically, like 1 in 10 people are going to become like these creepy blood zombie bone scythe creatures, and the group's going to have to fight them. Second session is when they talk to Hyacinth. Catan Kindergott. Oh, I don't even know exactly what I meant by that. Unique combination, Katana, Antimatter God, Matrix, pieces of puzzle. Yu-Gi-Oh puzzle. Okay. So Lady Hyacinth wants a murder solved on her Giga Farm. Okay, we've already talked about all of that. Okay, learn more about Drukhari. I think I've done a little bit of homework since then, so I haven't ignored that homework. But yeah, I need to know how the Drukhari just figure in. They're kind of lackadaisical. They are like if the Purge movies were a race of people. They also are very much like Cenobites and or the what are the creepy people in Firefly? Ravagers, I think. But anyways, here's something that I want to do. First session, let's expand on that. So beats. Oops. Introductions tell story of how you escaped. Reavers, yes, thank you. So, introduction, tell story how you escaped. Have researchers approach group regarding Necron in stasis. Probably will not call it a Necron. Maybe claim it is an STC fragment. Blood pets awaken. Fight ensues. If group fails, we'll just say 30% of refugees die before onboard security quells the infestation. If group succeeds, 5% die. Let's just say between 2 and 5. So I guess that would be a 1d4 plus 1. Group is hailed as heroes. Might gain a bit of notoriety. group. Well, let's just say, oops. Next stop. Hello, Looney. Hola, ¿qué hace? ¿Haciendo planes o qué hace? Pues sí, ¿qué piensas? Next stop. Agro World. And I know which one, but I can't remember the name of it. So I'm gonna pull my book out. Y hola, ¿cómo estás, Looney? So I'm just gonna look through my book because I need to start learning the Gilead system better. Art Worlds 297. So Avacris is the Forge World. Netherus is the Death World. Ostia. There we go. Of Ostia or Ostia, I don't know. May either get a chance to see the galaxy famous zoo or get a chance to meet Hyacinth in one of the few remaining recreation quadrants in the galaxy. So basically, they can either go to the zoo and just have a time there, maybe use it as a cover to talk about what their next move is, or they need to they actually get to meet Hyacinth by going to the recreation quadrant, which is like basically like a place that's got like bars and arcades and other fun things to do. And those things just don't exist in the Imperium because A, very few people are not just, you know, a serf class. But B, everything's been torn apart. So most of the galaxy has been rendered into this kind of like skeleton crew of like, we just need to make it through another year. Pues aquí andamos, amorcito. Tarde y super gay, pero aquí andamos. Pues qué bien, pues qué bien. All right, second session Agriworld. We've talked about that already. Oh, so there's some fun stuff about that, but we haven't even done the first session yet. So that'll be fun. I might next week, before the second game, kind of go back over this and add a little bit of zhuzh to it. Let's see. Space Hulk. After this adventure, session 3? Question mark. All right. End of this arc, maybe have Inquisitors following group. That could be fun. More Torquemada Space Armada. Learn more about Drukhari. Okay, so we already talked about that. Looney's here, so we're not going to go over this. But this is the Tuesday game, nominally, after the other Tuesday game. So first, Tuesday game 1, Tuesday game 2. But we will not do this. I still need to do a bunch of homework on Demon the Fallen. By homework, I mean I need to watch these movies. If you don't know anything about Demon the Fallen, you basically play escaped fallen angels from a rupture in hell. Like, think The Prophecy, think Dogma, think The Exorcist. John Carpenter's Vampires is in there just because I think I love that movie is really good and it kind of fits the themes. X1999 and Highlander Search for Vengeance. Those are all good stuff. But I also need to kind of go back over World of Darkness a little bit. Inquisición se intensifica. ¿Se va a hacer o no se va a hacer? El hereje asado. Sorry, I'm reading Spanish from what Looney is typing in the chat. So the Wednesday group, Dawn of Thay, group killed an evil spider, saved the troglodytes, went to uncover an old Netherese science lab. So we're using the Cannith Schematica. They only just started in this adventure, so it's a slam dunk. They've just started in the Cannith Schematica. They're going through a bunch of things. I'm just gonna add a note here. A Nothic was polymorphed into a unicorn. Very creepy. May help. May betray. So that's fun. We'll see if that turns into anything. But when the group saw a unicorn with a very bloody mouth, they were very disturbed. And so now they're trying to decide what to do. Se va a hacer el erge asado como chingados, no. Fierro pariente. Oh my god, Looney. All right, we finished Wednesday 2. It is complete. We were able to have a big boss fight in the game and came to a satisfying conclusion. It was really cool. I think there were a lot of plans I had in case it came around to playing in that game further. But they did not come to fruition, which is totally fine because I completely built it into where that would be the case. But I wanted to be sure that if people were like, let's keep playing, that I could have done that. Anyway, so Jaro and Hardmard, this was your stuff that I was going on. Nothing world shaking here that you don't already know. But we can go ahead and delete the section on Wednesday too. Now this is still eight games a week. Because I was kind of fibbing a little bit, and it was actually up to 9 for just a short while, or at least I guess it would have been, but because I hadn't started my other game yet. But there we go, and let's see. I guess that puts us over to our Thursday game. Thursday game's going really well, actually. So let's go ahead and last week. Okay, that's enough Mexican memory for today. Memory, yeah, sorry. All right. So last week, group did high roll, low roll game. High roll asks low roll a question. Lots of RP happened. That was awesome. And I shamelessly stole that from CR. Yeah, I did. Someone suggested it to me before I started watching Critical Role, and they recommended me that little game, and it works like a charm. It's amazing. I can't believe it took me so long to find something like that. But it's really good. It's really good, and it worked out really well. Then let's see. So this happened. The group reunited with giants, but they were fighting a flock of Gromek. Gromek pledged allegiance to Pontifex. Pontifex lent an ally, a night owl, to the Gromek. Has the stats equivalent to a coven of hags. Can act twice in a round. May survive and harass the group. That happened. That was exactly what happened. Survived and will harass the group. I can't remember what name I gave him. I have to go back. Oh yeah, his name is Desolation. Desolation is a contingency spell, so he didn't have to use that. He just got the fuck out of there. So the group has not gotten to the Earthshaker. That's gonna happen. Group. Group finds itself on the back of an Earthshaker, so that's gonna be next session. Let's just do that. Oops. Next. So I've been planning this out for quite a while, but the group is going to get back on the back of a Earthshaker, basically a giant, massive creature that's as big as like a small mountain. And it's just going to take them there, but it's going to ask them to get rid of a haunting, and the haunting is going to be a lesser lich. There's going to be a bunch of like lower level monsters that are going to occupy the army that they've got with them, so that they're going to be able to fight the lich. Let me see. Homework. I still need to reread on Zinshalast, and that's from Rise of the Rune Lords, if you're familiar with that. But I really need to plan that part out, and that's going to be next planning session. I'm going to be a little bit more mindful about creating what was this like old city of mages or whatever in the Galarian setting, and I'm just going to change it to an old city of elven mages in the Palladium fantasy setting, and just file off some serial numbers. All right, Gertrude, still some stuff going on there. Should be really interesting. All right, we're pretty much done with that. Peril and a Beer, it's done. It's over. We also completed that one. Earthshaker infested with Galeb Dur like fleas. Did I say that? Because I forgot. I think I was gonna have that be a thing, or maybe you're just suggesting it. I like that idea a lot, though. Like, I think if there were an Earth Elemental Kaiju, that it would have fleas that are Galeb Dur. It would just like shed them constantly. Let's see. It was a thought. I see. All right, Friday game. I need to really consider this. And I don't not like the Friday game. I like the Friday game a lot, but like the scheduling conflicts happen constantly. We might play once in a month sometimes. And that's just the players. It's not their fault. It's just kind of like where they're at right now. But I might consider kind of having a heart to heart with them and being like, do we want to commit to another campaign? Are y'all gonna have the time and energy to do this like every Friday or every other Friday? And maybe we make it every other Friday. I don't know. Oh, get out of here, filter keys. But maybe we rethink it. So let me just add a note. Rethink schedule for Friday games? Question mark. Maybe have someone else run every other week. Could be fun. Maybe I play every other week. And that could switch things up. Because let's say we only have a handful of people, but if I'm one of the players, maybe that makes it work out better. I don't know. It's a thought. We'll have that conversation. Lesser Lich be like, oh, come on, member of the Undead Horde, attack my enemies. I'll be your friend. I said no. I only answered to big-time Liches. They only answered to, like, Richard Branson-style Liches. I've been making that joke, like, for 2 weeks. Y'all can stop me. Saturday, return to Chultz. Yeah. Group destroyed Chernobog, got told by Nanny Poo-Poo in a dream. So, let's see. Group harassed again by Nanny Poo-Poo. Fought. What did they fight last week? It's actually a pretty rough battle, if I recall correctly. What the fuck did they fight? Why am I zoning out on this? Wasn't a Bone Claw, or was it? Yeah, actually, group fought Bone Claw. It was laid by a zombie sauropod. Many more were laid after the combat. Group eventually made it to a big fort made by a lesser lich. So I'm making it rhyme. Like I do that all the time. But I like to have these little echoes of like if I do one thing in one game, I will just grab it and deposit it into the next game. So Lesser Lich. They're gonna fight a Lesser Lich in a big fort. Fort has undead and not undead. So there we have it. Should be interesting. Lots of traitors, humans. Let's qualify that. Humans, Terra folk, etc. Maybe alliance with Nanny Poo Poo. Last stop before Omu. Batfolk. There could be Batfolk. That would be interesting. Random note. Camazotz. Maybe I can introduce Camazotz. I have stats for him, thanks to the Tome of Beasts Creature Codex. I can't remember which one had Camazotz in it. But that would be a fun fight if they had to fight Camazotz. Alright. Sunday, we went back to it, so we finally had another game. There are tons and tons of notes that I can go to on this, but last game, what's the avatar of, let's see, Raptor of the Cataclysm. He kicked their butts, but they won. After that, they were taunted by the god Raptor and told he would oppose them, bring Sulazar into the abyss. And he warned them not to interfere. Raptor of the Cataclysm, yeah. So when I say raptor, like I mean like bird raptor. So like this is a Vrock who took the form. Is the god raptor a giant chicken? Effectively, he's more of a vulture than anything, like a really nasty like humanoid vulture. But sure, he amusingly enough, Raptor. Let's just call him ROC. Although I don't know if that's going to get me a strike on this channel, but ROC is in a fierce warfare with Pazuzu. So he wants what Pazuzu has, which is dominion over evil flying creatures. So ROC wants that, and he might take it. And his lair in the abyss and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to say group may manipulate this rivalry. The only distinction from vultures and yardbirds is how quickly they'll eat your corpse after you die. The yardbirds eat more quickly. Is that what I'm getting from you, Sojaro? Like I would guess that a vulture would take its time, but like a flock of chickens would probably pick you clean pretty quick. That would be my assessment. I don't know. I didn't grow up on a farm, but I have seen chickens eat. It's pretty crazy. I've seen chickens eat each other. Like, chickens don't give no fucks. Vultures like their carrion a bit more steamed. Let's see. Rethink Sunday game. Yeah, I had I'll be honest with y'all. Maybe having y'all here, the Sunday game gave me tremendous amounts of anxiety. And it kind of did this last session too. To be completely honest, like it kind of. No, why am I all the way back up here? It kind of made me feel like they weren't all on board, and they showed up like kind of a half hour late. And I was real frustrated, and some of that frustration kind of came out. I don't know if anybody picked up on it or if they just chose not to say anything, but it's like I just feel like sometimes I feel like they kind of take the game for granted. And that's not a feeling I normally have. That's not like a way that I am about these things, but it was a hard thing to kind of work through, especially with like I spent like a 3 hour stream a week before yesterday, like retooling things, feeling better about it, and saying, "Hey, we can go back to the game," and everyone was on board, and then it just kind of felt weird and disjointed when we started. It ended better, but I'm still, I don't know. This game still kind of drains my energy. Chickens do not care; they will eat you before they hit before you hit the ground. Oh, I believe it. I believe it 1,000%. So we've got some stuff in the Steam cooker. Um, there's a lot of things going on. If someone takes you for granted, that's just a reflection of how stable you are in their lives. I don't thank you, Eli, but I don't know how to necessarily internalize that. Like, does that mean that I should keep being stable in their lives, or is that like a like I should like reestablish the connections in that? I don't know. Um, and I don't. That's a thought I had before you brought that up. But like, it's a hard road to toe. I like it's one of those things where it's like things started poorly yesterday and ended good, so I'm like, let's do it again next week. But or actually, we're actually not playing next week because people were kind enough to tell me that they weren't going to be there. But like that's part of one of the things that really frustrates me is that I'll ask at the end of every session, "Hey, are we playing next week?" And everyone's like, "Yep, yeah, we're good. Yep, yeah, we're playing next week." And then the day, maybe an hour before, they're like, "Oh, by the way, I can't make it." And then maybe something I planned for that specific character can't happen, or maybe it throws everything into a tailspin. And there are times when I think that I would enjoy this game way better if I could like stop it entirely, restart it, and just pick the people that are in it. But I don't know. I'm really sometimes it helps just to be like, hey, should we just cancel tonight? I almost did. Like I really, really almost did. And I should have done what my instinct was and was to like cancel when they were all 15 minutes late. But like one person showed up at the 20-minute mark and then they started streaming in. Um, I don't know. I really should have. I really, really should have. But like it was fine, I guess. Like the worst part about it was that I went from being like, I don't like the way this game is, and I need to take like 2 to 3 weeks off. Um, and everyone's like, "Yep, you're fine. Take your time. We're rooting for you. Everything, like, you're awesome." And then I felt super great about how everything went with the planning stage week before yesterday, and I'm like, "Hey, I feel way better. Do y'all want to play this week?" And that's part of what really made me frustrated. Was like, "Hey, if you want to, we can play this week. If not, we can skip it because I only gave you a week's notice." And everyone was like, "Yep, yeah, we're all good." And then like all of this, like we're late, all of this was like, "Oh, it's like we gotta start like a little later. You just start without me." And then it's like 3 people were late, and it was eminently frustrating. I have to have a family calendar event with my friends for that, and I mess with it so they get alerts. That's see, and that's the thing that bugs me too is that like this used to be my most stable game once upon a time, and then people started really just filtering out of it entirely. People were like, "Yeah, we can't play anymore," and it like that hurt my feelings. Like it shouldn't have, but it did. Like we started at 9 people, we're at 4 of the original people who were in it, and like it was hard not to take it personally when people just didn't want to play anymore, just one after the other, like in very short succession. Um, but they did, and there was never really any kind of explanation. And now one more person is threatening to leave, so it's going to be like 3 of the original people with like 2 new people who have joined on since then, and like another 2 who have joined and left. So it's just everything feels disjointed. Everything feels like I've been trying to bail out the Titanic, and I don't know. Maybe the more I talk about this, the more I realize I need to just stop. I don't know. What's the sense that y'all get? What do y'all think? Like, am I just talking myself into a corner here of like, you know, am I just saying more than I'm thinking? Like, am I saying it out loud? Seems to me like you're rock solid. No, and I mean, if we have to cancel a game, 1 out of 100 times it's because I have to cancel, and then the remainder of that is just other people that. And you know what? That's fine. People have their lives. People can cancel. But what frustrates me is when they have to cancel last minute. It's like just tell me. If you have a Magic tournament before and you're running late, like just don't come to my game. Like if that's really what you're all about, do it. If something's going on in your life that you like are gonna try and jump in a car and join in or whatever, like just don't do it. But like tell me that you've got stuff going on. I don't have to be the most important thing in your life for this one game one time out of the week. But like let's at least be, honest about it. I have no first-hand experience with your people. I'm also the stable person and have friends that have lives, lol. Yeah, I know. And it's just weird. It's weird. I'm not trying to like be like, hey, the game is more important. I'm never like that. But it just seems weird that they are simultaneously like lackadaisical, but also like, no, we love the game and we want you to keep running it. And it's weird. It's a weird place to be in. Okay, that was a lot of kind of kvetching about it. But let's see how to implement this. Give it some thought. Consider starting with the brain fun shots. Okay, let me highlight this because maybe I do want to consider doing this. I'm also the straight man at the table of clowns. I don't know where I would put myself on that metric. I tend to joke around a lot, but I don't know. Terrence. Okay, so I started putting in NPCs, but I feel like I don't want to put more effort into making NPCs if I'm feeling so kind of wonky about this. But homework, the quiet year. Oh yeah, we talked about this last year. I'm just gonna to elucidate. It is a world building game. Count Bacula, Walrus Vampire. That was just a random note. All right. So here is the portion of my game of my stream wherein I ask question or no, I don't ask questions. What am I talking about? I allow everyone to ask questions. Sometimes it's better not to bail out water from the Titanic and just pick up your violin and play some tunes. Yeah, sometimes it is. Maybe I should just tell someone else to run a game on Sundays. See how they like it. Anyhow, this is the portion in which I let y'all ask questions, whether it's questions about my campaigns, questions about D&D in general, questions about other stuff. Ask me anything, really. It's an AMA. Medic Buddha, you were saying you wanted to know more about Wrath and Glory, so now's your chance. Ask me whatever you want. Other people in the chat, prove to me you're not a bot. I know some of you are not bots. But please do ask any questions you've got. If you're curious about how I run 8 games a week. And just going back very briefly, this is the thing that bugs me, is that this game is the most frustrating of my 8 games, and it never used to be that way. It was my flagship. Beep boop, yes, thank you, bot. But the fact that I can run a bunch of other games and not be like super frustrated by like the scheduling conflicts or the issues that come up, like probably the next most frustrating game is a Wednesday game, wherein I run for a bunch of like very young players. That has its own challenges, but like the answer is very clear. They're kids and they're learning, and it's very difficult to get kids who are used to playing like Grand Theft Auto style games to like not want to murder everything in sight. I'm used to that. I know that that's a thing. It just is frustrating to deal with. But the Sunday game is more frustrating because we finished an entire campaign. We're all grown ass people, and I don't know. It's weird. Ask your questions. I'm going to take a super quick break. In fact, I'm not even going to. Let's see. I'm just going to write a thing on here. Gonna get a soda. Ask your questions. S'il vous plaît. I think I. S'il vous plaît. No, I always get that wrong. Well, no, I just didn't do accents. Anyways, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I have my sodi. Let's see. For question of the day purposes, tortas de milanesa, pierna o cubana? That's amazing. Let's see. Oh shoot! My stupid bank needs to get me a new debit card, and I need to. Oh, I just remembered that. Anyways, all right, let's start. But no, tortas de milanesa, pierna o cubana. So, like, I love getting that stuff. I guess it would be hard to call that fast food here, but I see exactly what you mean about it being fast food there. But yeah, um, that's amazing because I love those. Oh, torta de milanesa sounds so good about now. Okay, do you feel that you're more invested in that game than the players are? I kind of do, actually. I kind of do. And it's really weird. I don't know how to describe it or why, but it just feels like they're not as invested. And I don't know why. It's like I don't really have a reason to think that. And maybe yesterday was a fluke that they all just showed up late, but it does just kind of feel weird that it doesn't feel right. Maybe it's just been a slow slide. I don't know. I don't know. What kind of fort is your lesser lich going to have? It's like a big wooden fort that they built in the middle of the jungle. I like flaming skulls, and I want to play as one someday. Flaming skulls, like a flame skull, like the ones that shoot fireballs and whatnot. I guess I should really answer these by typing them out. Am I more invested in the Sunday game than my players? Maybe. Feels that way. Let's see. What kind of fort does the lesser lich have? Like an F troop fort. A wooden prairie times fort in the jungle. I thought of that as a lesser lich because of the demi lich. Oh no, it's just a lesser lich is just like I take that from I want to say that was I think Pathfinder had lesser liches. They were like basically a lich that failed to become as powerful as they're supposed to be. But it's like just a weak lich, not a demi lich, because demi liches are different. That's a whole rabbit hole. But yeah, demi liches just are like these decrepit ancient liches that turn into just their heads, and they're maybe more powerful, maybe less. It's hard to say. Do you already have ziggurats all over the place? Oh yeah, there's ziggurats. I'm just gonna file this under Tomb of Annihilation Saturday. And if anybody should have any other questions regarding anything else, like feel free, ask me anything. Except my social security number, I won't tell you that. Maybe Looney, I would answer that. I mean, I guess tortas do count as fast food because they're made in like 10 minutes or less, and you mostly get them in paper bags. See, here it's a little different. Like a torta is kind of like a big to do. There is one fast food place called Tacos Rapidos, and they're literally a Mexican fast food place. The quality of the food is not great, but you can get flautas and beans and rice, all in a styrofoam container with some like green sauce, and it's really good for what it. Oh, I kind of want that now too, but it's like not great. Like it's very just bottom of the barrel like quality stuff. And they have tortas too, and they'll give you a torta in a very short amount of time. So that I would count. But most places up here kind of treat a torta as like a main dish. Now I'm hungry again. I'm sorry, I am too. Actually, I'm wondering what I'm gonna eat after this. But yeah. Oh man, I should stop asking. Well, I should give it a break and not ask a food-related question of the day. Maybe next time I'll ask something else. I'll think about it. But yeah, any other questions? Please prove yourselves to not be unto a bot yourself. Oh, that's good soda. So I said it was okay. Let me rummage in my Q bag. I said I was gonna figure out a better direction for the Wednesday one game, which is now just the Wednesday game. Um, I should try and give it a little bit more of a direction. Um, Wednesday, maybe have the group uh, attempt to thwart a Thayan invasion of the Druids Grove that the party has ties to. This will require a lot of trickery, bravery, and dedication. Maybe bring in Valindra. So now I'm gonna have to look up Valindra again. So that's that. But I like this idea. Like I called it Dawn of Thay, but they really need to come back around to combating the Thayans. What's the most gruesome demise one of your players has suffered? Probably, honestly, um, drunk and stepped on by a dragon. I wasn't terribly proud of that. This was in high school. We were playing a game, and one of the players was like, they went into a dragon's den to talk to the dragon, and the player decided he was going to steal from the dragon. And the dragon's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm stealing from you." And he's like, "Stop that." And he's like, "No." Um, Also not a bot. I'm a doll. There's a difference. Yes, of course, Looney. You're such a doll. Um. Oh, have you played Phoenix Dawn Command? No, I'll get to that answer or to that question in a minute. But anyways, so that was my friend nominally in this game where he was just kind of being flippant and being like, "I steal from the dragon in plain sight." So the dragons like shrank him to 6 inches and squished him. In that game, that was a spell you could cast, and so he got shrunken and squished, and that was that. And then he just walked away from the table. But like I said, I wasn't proud of that, but that was just my reaction at the time. And we've since had other games, and it's like water under the bridge. But I would like to say that that was because we were moody teenagers at that time, and we were. But I do still feel bad. I know that I should not have done that. Maybe in a more egalitarian sense. Um, Disintegration by a beholder. I mean, I don't know if you'd count that as gruesome, but yeah, molecularly reduced to your component parts. That was a thing that happened. Phoenix Dawn Command. Have I played it? No. Heard all about it. It's one of those that I'm really curious about. I've heard very good things about Phoenix Dawn Command. I'm pretty sure I know the people, or know, like, I either know of the people or know the people who wrote it, and I just can't remember who the author is. Because that's the Eberron guy, right? Am I wrong on that? But anyways, um, yeah, it sounds like a good time, but I'm so entrenched in D&D right now. I'm making some moves to try and move away from it just a little bit. Uh-huh. And maybe I'll take a good look at Phoenix Dawn Command at some point. But I have so many games, like seriously, I have so many. And there's all kinds of games that I still want to run, like Heavy Gear, like Demon the Fallen. Probably gonna want to run a game of Dragon Prince when I get the book. Anime 5e. I just got my hands on that. Let's see. Do you run giants/giant creatures use their weak stat block attacks, or do you do what a giant really would, pick someone up and throw them like the boulders they have? I guess I didn't really think about that, but I've had a pretty giant heavy campaign recently. And the group is really not really, messed with fighting giants all that much. They did fight one giant that was basically like a Rahu man, but his whole thing was he had 4 arms like Goro, and he had like some really nasty weapons, and he got 4 attacks, and oh man, that was rough. That was almost a TPK, but that was good. I think that was good. What I did, but yeah, I didn't even think about that. But I might have the group have to fight a giant that throws them hell of a far. Let me just ask. Giant stat block as written, or have its real players? No, I have not, but I may soon. I'm imagining the dragon's expression at that massively cheeky human trying to steal his stuff brazenly out in the open, and I'm having a bit of a laugh. Really, human? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm gonna take your shit. The balls on this, yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the exchange. That was like almost exactly the exchange. When you think about it, they're throwing these rocks that are probably just as heavy as the character. Yeah, I would totally imagine that to be the case. I never really thought about it. It's kind of like how it's really cool to think about being attacked. Okay, so think about like a zombie that just goes up to you and tries to beat you with its lifeless limbs, or think about zombies that attempt to grapple you until enough of them have dragged you down, and then they start biting into your prone form. Um, like I don't know why zombies don't operate that way. They should be way scarier. They should be more Walking Dead style. Um, but they're not. But they should be. And I think the Richard Armand book, Amon, not Armand, Richard Amon, the monsters know what they're doing or something, is really good for that, because it really tells you not just what a monster does, but what it should do. And it kind of cleaves into this idea of like I think people think fifth edition is too simple, fifth edition D&D, but I love it. A lot of reasons, but one of those reasons is that a monster's stat block tells a story. And if you follow that story, the monster stat block is actually really interesting and good and works in combat to a degree. They still have issues with the higher level monsters not being as strong as they should or could be. But that issue aside, the lower level monsters like really sing in combat if you use them in a way that's congruent with their their psychology, the way that they are meant to be. The first in the series, but it's great and gets you into the mindset. Yeah, absolutely. And it really makes you think like they're not just robots in an MMO. They're not just like a random mob, but they're like groups of people who have like societies, you know, as simplistic as that might be. Like maybe bullywugs are tribal, but they still operate and fend for themselves and will sometimes, if not often, repel invaders that are, much more powerful than they are because they work as a group and so on. And so I think a lot of people really forget that it's not just about walking up and battering someone, but it's about being way more considerate about it. But anyways, any other questions? We are at the almost at the hour and 20-minute mark. Actually, kind of a short show today, but that's okay. If anybody else would like to ask any questions, you want to know about Wrath and Glory, please ask away. Do you want to ask me about the games that I run? Why I love D&D so much that I run 8 games? Poor Dragon at the Dragon Support Group. I don't know. Humans just do not fear me anymore. I'm called Brugnar the Flesh Reaper, Scourge of Grathar, Terror of Aberthia, and humans just come and say they're pilfering my hoard to my face. What am I doing wrong? Elden Ring, yes or no? Well, let me answer that question. That's a big question. Looney, I'm saving all those names because Brugnar the Flesh Reaper, Scourge of Grathanar, Granthar, Terror of Aberthia. I love that. My game store has collapsed. How do I find any online games? Well, one Calagosa. There are a lot of really good ways to find games. I'm going to be kind of cheeky and suggest you join my Discord, and I can absolutely help you find a game. That's like what I can do personally for you. But on a greater scale, it's Twitter has kind of absorbed G+. Oh, I don't have a Discord bot thing. I'll do this thing. And honestly, if anybody here wants to join my Discord, I'm not gonna stop them. But give me 1 second. Actually, I will give you the Discord. I will not show my Discord on the screen. So give me just a moment. But anyway, one Calagusa. Oh, well, let me answer your question because I feel like it's more pressing. I can help you find a game, but Twitter has kind of absorbed G+. G+ used to be kind of the premier TTRPG community. But Twitter is a surprisingly great place to find online games. Calagosa. Is that right? Calagosa? One Calagosa? Cool. But yeah, usually you can get onto a Twitter community. What games do you play mostly? Like what systems are you kind of leaning towards? I guess that's an important question too. And I haven't forgotten about the Elden Ring question. I will get to it very, very shortly. Let me see. I played since 4th, but played 5e, Pathfinder, Shadowrun. Shadowrun, I kind of collect books. Oh yeah, trust me, I'm the same way. But yeah, I mean, I do a lot with 5e, but I'm trying to branch out. I've played a lot of games. I've run a lot of games, but 5e, since the pandemic started, that was just big business, Jack. It was just a big deal, and everybody wanted to play. And so at the height of it, I think I might have had like 9.5 games that I was running. It was a little wild. I'm down to like 7.5, kind of, sort of. But we can still get you set up. We can still kind of do a thing for you and make sure. But it's all about the communities that you're part of and finding the right people. Like I can point you towards about like a good dozen games. Got room at a table for one more? I might, and I'd love to make that happen. But let me see what I've got going first, and we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, like the hardest part about it is that I can set you up with a game, but I cannot guarantee the goodness of that game. And so the last couple of times I've tried that, it's come down to just me running a game, and that was how the Wednesday game with Sujaro happened, actually. And not, and you know, all the better for all involved because it was a lot of fun. But I don't know. I'll see what I can do, and I may have some room at a table for you. But we'll definitely start with the joining of the Discord, and we'll kind of go from there. And failing all else, I will look towards the people that I know and trust and see if anybody has room at their table. But my brain's not working right now. I'm not thinking of any games that I have off the top of my head, but that's not to say that there aren't. So let me see what all. And hello, Kalagosa. You know, it's really ironic, but I would put a bot on my Discord server to basically post when I'm streaming, but most of the people on here would be spoiled by the things that I'm writing down. So just in a larger sense, how do I find an online game? Question mark. Get to know online communities. Try through Twitter. Try through forums, etc. Try especially to get personal referrals. So, like, if you know someone who you trust that can point you in the direction of a good game, do that. That's usually the best way. But otherwise, it's tricky. It's really hard to find a good game these days, even with the proliferation, with the myriad of games that are happening. But don't worry, I've got you, and we will figure this out. That being said, let's see. Some of it is inevitably luck-based. Because just finding a good group of people is really rough. And I've been lucky to have a decent groups of people that I've kind of cultivated over the last 3 years. But all right, okay. So regarding Elden Ring, I don't play Dark Souls, and I think that's gonna throw a lot of people for a loop. Like I think that there was like a train going towards Dark Souls, and I missed that train. Like I think there was like a window of time for which that would have made sense for me as a human being to have gotten into Dark Souls and really, really loved it and enjoyed it. I didn't. I really I missed the train on that one, and I kind of feel like it's too late. It's kind of like, okay, so I really liked Kingdom Hearts 1 and I played the crap out of it. But then there was something about the gap between 1 and 2 that I never played 2. I never played any of those other games that came in between, and I just could not bring myself to care enough after Kingdom Hearts 1. And it's the same thing with Dark Souls, and I know Elden Ring isn't Dark Souls. But it's kind of one of those things. It's like it's not my thing. I would rather play Final Fantasy 11. I would rather play The Old Republic. I would rather play Final Fantasy 14. Those are games that I want to play and I just do not have the time for it. So before I played any of those, I would not play Elden Ring, and that's just a preference thing. I'm sure it's great. I might if things were different, I might just sit down and play it and go, "Oh my god, this is amazing and I love this." Conversely, I play enormous amounts of Monster Hunter Rise, and it's my jam. And I feel like it scratches a lot of those itches. I'll probably spring for the Dark Souls remake on Switch at some point, just because I really like card games. How do you keep politics off the tabletop? Ooh boy, that's a tricky one. But I have Monster Hunter World. Um, I, I I have mixed feelings about Monster Hunter World. Like I really wanted to try it back in the day, and enough people told me not to that I didn't. Um, but I hear that it's good. Like I do not want to. Siri, I didn't say anything. Um, but like I know just as many people as told me not to play it. I know just as many people who really enjoy the hell out of it. So, but those people now play Monster Hunter Rise, like by and large. So I don't know. But to the question, how do you keep politics off the tabletop? So one is that I do use safety tools. That's super important. Um, and that helps silenciate City. Yeah, exactly. I do use safety tools, and more than just protecting people's feelings, which there's a lot of people out there who will tell you that that's not worth doing, and those people are wrong. But that aside, safety tools aren't just about keeping people from experiencing bad things in games, like harsh subject matter and so on. They're also just about setting the tone. Like safety tools are so important for just being like, hey, how are we going to behave like human beings at this table? Like that's just as important as keeping the terrible subject matter away from the people who don't want to be subject to it. But so part of the safety tools are like, what do we talk about at the table? It's like I'd love to talk to you about your real life and the things you do and the things you are, but it's like if you want to set the tone and say we're not talking about politics, like real world at the table, that's something you absolutely would do just right off the bat. I play with people who are very conservative. I play with people who are very liberal, and we're able to maintain the peace because we know that we're there for a common purpose and that we're not there to argue about which politician is better or what lifestyle choices are valid or not. Like that's not a part of what we're there to do as actual people talking about our given political leanings. Those things still happen in the context of the game. So keeps real life stuff off the table if not desired. However, we do include politics in game. So I will very often have fascist regimes in the game. They're very obviously evil and meant to be overthrown. I will have the group working with nominally evil characters like hags and beholders. And yes, they are evil because that is what is ascribed to them. But at the same time, it's like, what is evil? Like, let's say kill to be in a political intrigue game. Yeah, my previous DM at my game store did not use safety tools. That store is gone now, so yeah, there's something to be said about that. I've I've run I've run and am running games at a game store, and I really do feel like I have to be kind of a police. I don't want to say police. I have to be a guardian for the people who are playing because it's like I don't ever want to have any group bogged down with something that they don't need to be a part of, whether that's like people arguing about real life politics, whether it's about people arguing about like gatekeeping and so on. Yeah, shepherd is a much better term, thank you. But there was a moment a couple of weeks ago at the game store where we were doing a Curse of Strahd game, and we were talking about the Vistani and their real world counterparts, which are the Romani. And one of the older players in the game was like, "What is a Romani?" And we're like, "That's what used to be known as blah blah blah." And he's like, "Oh, so now there's a politically correct term for it." And we were like, "Yeah, that's the preferred nomenclature. Please call them Romani." And he was pretty quiet after that, but like he got the point. But like those are the kind of things where it's like I don't want to have to get on people's cases about stuff like that, but like I do, and I will tell people like these are the things you have to do when you're at my table, whether I'm there as the dungeon master or not. Like these are the ways that we will behave because we're not going to be here to like, and whether you call them Romani or not Romani, like that's not a hill that I'm gonna die on. But like I don't want people acting as though like I'll tell you what the preferred nomenclature is at my table. I'm not gonna kick you out because of it, but if you want to make an issue out of it, then I will. Like if that makes you uncomfortable, we can have that conversation away from the game table, but that will probably end up with you not coming back. I mean, if you're going to hang out with people for a long time in a friendly environment, I believe protecting their feelings to a certain extent should very much be a priority. But I'm not well versed in TTRPG etiquette, so take my ramblings with a grain of salt. No, Looney, that is the most sane take on that you could possibly have, because there are a lot of old heads, a lot of neckbeards that have been playing since the 80s, since the 70s, who are like, why are we protecting people's feelings? You should just have unfiltered raw Dungeons and Dragons, and you should be exposed to like subject matter like rape and murder of children and like dogs being killed and just everything, like all of the things that might make people uncomfortable at the table. It's like this is what the Middle Ages was like, and nobody should be blah 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 blah. And look, this all filters into Gamergate. It does, believe it or not. But I'm not going to say that the neckbeards at TTRPG tables were born from Gamergate. They existed well before then. But they took the sentiment of being like, you have to play by our rules because we were here before you, which I understand and sympathize with that, even though I feel like there's some misgivings with that. But despite that, so the idea is like, hey, we were here before you, and you're going to play by our rules. That's really what these older players are on about. But they feel as though the game is being changed from what they want it to be, and that's true. It is changing from what they want it to be. But if you ask me, that happened 20 years ago. It isn't second edition D&D anymore, and it hasn't been for a really long time. And you have OSR, Old School Revival. You have all the people who play in the style of the game that happened a long time ago. But that doesn't go away. But what does go away is being the majority state. Like, it's, the demographics have changed. People have gotten older. Younger people have gotten into the game. And right now, the social momentum is going in a direction where people don't want to play lethal games of old school D&D that are rough and tumble and put a lot of power in the dungeon master's hand. Like, that's just not what it is anymore, and that's what bugs them, and there's nothing anyone can do about that. I don't want these people to be disenfranchised. That's just what's happening, and that happens in all segments of pop culture. Whether you wish that hair metal were still a thing, whether or not you're upset by what counts as classic rock, whether you're just very upset at musical trends nowadays, like no one can do anything about that on a small scale. You just have to, take what you like, find the people who like it, try and be decent human beings about it, and enjoy it. But you can't pretend like because you were into Led Zeppelin in the 70s, and that was like the big thing when you were in your prime, that you can just keep that going. You can't just have that continue to be the case, even though your musical preferences were in vogue at one point in your past. Like, that's not how things work. And just like that with tabletop RPGs, you can't just pretend. In 20 years, the things that I like about role playing may be exceedingly different than they are now. And I won't be able to do anything about that. And I'm just going to have to, ensure that the friendships that I forge now and the connections that I have now are going to ensure that I can keep playing those games the way I want to play them. But I can't force people to like what I like when I'm old and not part of the key demographic. And I think that's really what we're starting to see. Let's see, I've missed a bunch of comments. My religion and my table have one core rule: don't be a dick. That's fantastic. I love that. Let's see. So now there's a politically correct version. The term Romani is like 100 years old, but I get the tangent is important. I just find that very amusing. Yeah, I know exactly. Calagosa. The dude in question just is weird, and he's unfortunate, and yeah. Well, the less I say, the better. But like let's just say he's misguided, and I think his heart is really in the right place. But we kind of have to keep him in check quite a bit. It hasn't gotten to the point where we think we have to kick him out of the store game, but it could get to that point at some point. Hasn't happened. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm not ruling it out. I mean, I wouldn't say no to playing Neckbeard Rules D&D, just to be honest, but that's just me. So, Looney, let me tell you about Neckbeard Rules D&D. I tried playing that once, and so I tried playing that once a really long time ago, and it was fine. It was fun. But I tried playing it again recently, and I made a character, and I was trying to be really intentional about like how fun the character was. And the very first thing we did was we fought 40 ghouls in a cave and died. That was the immediate first thing that we did. 100,000% was just like, okay, the first thing that happens is either you run from these ghouls or everybody dies. And everybody died. And all of the time and effort I put into that character, done. All of the kind of bonds that we were trying to foment as a group, gone, done. And that's old school D&D. You have to be ready to die at a moment's notice. You have to understand that you're going to pour an enormous amount of effort into what could be a minuscule amount of returns. I'm I don't think I ever really want to look back. Like, I honestly don't think that's for me. It really is like, imagine if you're playing Dark Souls, but when you lose, you have to throw the disc away and buy a whole new disc. That's what old school D&D is to me. And maybe there's a different way to play that, but I'm not about it. It's not my thing. And I don't know that I ever really wanted to try and make it my thing. Um the classic rock channel in my small island town now plays Linkin Park from the 90s, and it hurts me on an emotional level because the channel is called Oldies. Yup. Yup. People can play DCC if they want to die off. And yeah, and they do. I played second edition. It's not fun. It can be, but yeah, it just goes to that same old thing. Um, when people talk OSR, they really do mean the meat grinder, have 10 character sheets on hand style of D&D. Um, and it really is a lot of luck and a lot of paranoia. Like, that's how you play those games. You just have to like sneak around every corner, maybe not even fight everything you come across, run away from a lot of it, and luck into treasure and luck into things, and just know that no matter how powerful you get, a swarm of goblins can probably still kill you. And so you have to be careful at every turn, which means that at some point, uh, make some juniors on them sheets. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, but at some point, you're going to hire um, a small army to follow you around, because if you don't have that small army, you will get killed by someone else's small army. It's a very, very weird way of playing a game that should be more personal and about character development when you're basically playing like a warband simulator. And that's fine, but it's not my style. It really is not my style. And I feel like maybe I've kind of gotten away from the questions. Well, I mean, I think I'm still on the same thing. So if someone's asked a question that I've answered, just let me know. But yeah, there's something to be said. Like, if y'all like, there's a lot of like D&D and pop culture, and you might remember the Dexter's Laboratory um, version of D&D, and I feel like that was a real kind of kick in the teeth in a good way. Um, must be a trip hanging around with a bunch of boomer nerds with huge neckbeards in a dingy basement, be like an 80s time capsule. Yeah. You don't like rogue style games, me neither. Um, and I mean, I'll play a roguelike. like a computer game. I'll play a D&D computer game that is like that exact simulation, but that's because there's a reset button, and not this like march of progress that feels like it feels like you're being rewarded for being like a pedant. And I think that's the worst part of it. Like it really rewards pedantism, whatever. Um, when you play that old school D&D with old school D&D players, because it's just like, well, you have to understand my mindset and think like I do to survive my games, and if you don't, you're never going to. And that's the part that bugs me the most. And you know what, Looney, I'll run an old style one, and maybe I'll put my own spin on it. But um, I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend playing old school D&D with old school D&D players. Um, Regardless of what their personality types are, regardless of like what kind of human beings they are, they may be the most pleasant people on the planet. But when it comes to like playing with people who are just dyed in the wool old school D&D players, like there's something to be said about their ruthlessness, because the game requires you to be ruthless. And when you're in that game mode, it's honestly not fun. Um and like I would just recommend playing with people who maybe aren't old school D&D players, but maybe that's me. I might just be biased. But I'll run an old style D&D game for you. I mean, this has been a really fruitful discussion, and hopefully I'll have gotten a lot from the conversation, and I'm not just like going on and on about my own bullshit. But yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll this has been somewhat illuminating. If you want to say more about this subject, I'm super happy to continue the conversation. But also, if anybody else has any questions, like super duper, you're super duper encouraged um, to ask me any questions you might have. I kind of want another soda, but I think I'm gonna abstain. Although I am kind of hungry, especially after all that talk of tortas de milanesa and so on. Caladosa, what's your fast food of choice? I will ask you a question. That being said, if I have exhausted y'all of questions, we might end soon, which is all the same. It actually went for quite a bit longer than I was expecting, which is good. Very awesome. Thank you, Sajaro, if you're still around. I know you're lurking, but thank you for the raid, and thank you to everyone who decided to hang out and just indulge me in talking about my ridiculousness, as always. Let's see. I can already picture our ride in the car back home. I can't believe the nerds told me to go back to the kitchen. I told you, Looney. I told you. I mean, they absolutely would say that. Like, not even joking. I'd have more convo with you about Sunday, folks, but I don't want to rile you up. I mean, that's what I'm here for. That like, ask me anything. Like, please do ask about that, and don't repeat any of this on the Discord because they're all on there. Because Eli, I'm guessing that you are. Come on now. Why is this taking so long to load? Eli, are you Elzamar? I am going to add a little bit more to what I said in regards to the just the neckbeard situation. It's like I'm not unsympathetic to neckbeards. Like I do really sympathize with them. Like what they like is going out of vogue, and that doesn't feel good for anybody. And there's nothing wrong with what they like. I just don't like it, and a lot of people just don't like it. But I think that where it's really coming at an impasse is that we're seeing a lot of people um, attack them for liking a style of game that can be perceived as being very controversial with the way that orcs are portrayed and with the way that Asiatic cultures are portrayed and so on and so forth. And it's like that's very difficult to make a long term judgment call on. But at the end of the day, I just want to let them have what they have. But at the same time, from the other side of the aisle, on the neckbeard side, they want to basically force people to like what they like, and that's not cool either. And they feel like the control of the tabletop scene is being wrested from them. But it's not people doing that to them, it's just time. And there's nothing that they can really do to change that as much as they want to be angry, form companies that lay claim to the TSR logo or whatever they want to do. Let's see, what's a disconnect with the players? Do you think? Do they know what they're doing and why? No, and I don't know either because I can't um, I can't put it into words, but it just seems like this attitude of lack. They're being nonchalant, and I don't know why that bugs me so much. Um, I don't know. It's just weird, and like the fact that it's gotten whittled down to like just 3 original players bugs me a lot. Um, 4 original player. Well, I don't know. That's a weird number, but um, it just seems like the people who used to be a part of this group and be a core part of it have left, and the people who are left are great and do a really good job, and they play their characters and they enjoy the Sunday game, but there's just something about the way that they approach things that just seems so passive, in the sense that they don't like really engage with the story, they just kind of let it happen to them, and that's hard for me. Like I'm seeing so many other groups that take what I give them and just turn it into these like beautiful stories, and then this group just, it feels like they're just letting me tell my story without really like stopping and asking questions or being mindful about it, and that bugs me. It's not a mystery, you've put a lot of work into this story, so it's only natural. Yeah. And it's hard, it's just like there are so many relationships, and when I say relationships I mean like friendships and coworkers and all of these different like interactions I have with people, where if something bugs me, usually I can say, "Hey, this bugs me. Can you please do it different?" But there are those kind of intangible things where it's like if I ask them to do it differently and they do, it will feel disingenuous because I've had to ask them. And that's maybe not fair, but also that's just how I feel. Like, have you ever been in that? Like, if you ask someone to do something differently and they do it, you feel like they're only doing it because you're asking them to, and that just feels kind of like a hollow moment. Like it's like you should have never asked them in the first place. I mean, there are things, reading from the chat, I mean, there are things you can do to wrest control of a thing you like back from the newer crowd, but it involves a lot of torching the thing you like to the ground, and not everyone has the stomach for it. Yeah. And to be completely honest, I think it's past the point of no return, Looney, in terms of the tabletop role playing community. Like, I don't think that there's anything that the Neckbeards could possibly do to change the momentum. And maybe that's the difference between video games and tabletop, is that video games have seen a number of different momentum changes, and the biggest one that I can think of that bugged me was in the 90s when the PlayStation came out, and it went from being nerdy to like video games to being like cool and like kind of jock bro type stuff, like your Crash Bandicoots and your Grand Theft Autos. And that shift was huge, and there was really nothing that the quote unquote nerds could do to change that. And now the momentum shift is maybe teetering towards like the same kind of momentum shift that the tabletop group is seeing. Um, and that's very different because there's a lot more entropy there. There's a lot more stability in the player base. So it's harder to move them because they are bigger and their mass has a bigger entropy. Whereas the tabletop role playing space, like it's ridiculous how many people have joined into playing tabletop role playing just in the last 5 years. That the group that has joined is way bigger than the group that had ever played before, and it's crazy. But going back to the other question, do the non-original people have good character hooks and motivations? No, they kind of don't. Um, and that's hard because it just seems like they're happy to show up every week and just have this kind of like this like paper thin character that's just there to beat things up. And normally I'm for that. Normally I'm okay with it, but for some reason that bugs me here too. They're just there to beat things up. They're just there to passively receive the story. I've had that experience and it hasn't been done, so I don't know what it would be like if they complied. When you say you've had that experience and it hasn't been done, like you've asked someone and they didn't do the thing you asked them to, is that what you mean? That makes sense, and maybe that's what would happen. But I think I'm starting to put it into words, but it would be like if I asked them to like role play more. Like I want you to role play more, and I want you to not like combat so much. And that just feels like such a disingenuous question. Like why would I ask them to change the way they want to play? But I don't know. I don't know, honestly. Um, and it's kind of crazy. One of the things that bugs me the most is that one of the core players who is basically maybe leaving, and it's very unclear. Um, let's see, like basically his character died, and then he came back, but then he just was never fine with his character dying and coming back, and he kind of felt like he wasn't motivated to play. And so I've bent over backwards to try and get him to come back and offer all kinds of different character ideas. And he's just ghosted me, really. He's ghosted me and not responded to a number of different kind of attempts of me to like re-engage him back into the game, and that bugs me too. Dude took a lot of smoke breaks off of his turns, didn't pay attention to the story. I'm reading from the chat. Took long to figure out his options, a big delay of the game. Yeah, I've had players like that too, and that bugs me too. I've had issues with that where it's like, dude, you're just not interested. And I have had to kick people out because of that. I'd just be like, do you want to play, or are you just kind of like doing this perfunctorily? And then he's just like, no, I'm just kind of doing this to do it. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm sorry. You go find a different group. And he did. And the funny thing was that in that instance, the dude just didn't put up a fight. He was just this like, God, milquetoast would imply like less neutrality than what this guy was. I'll tell you what, I love video games enough that I want to raise them to rubble just so the progressive crowd doesn't. This is reading from the chat. Tell you what, I love video games so much that I want to raise them to the ground. Progressive crowd doesn't get to have them, and there are links I will go to make that crowd's life so uncomfortable. Is that sane? No, but then again, that's just my little eccentricity, and I'm an ethnic minority, so I'm allowed. And yeah, I mean, what I would say is that I don't think that the progressive left has taken over tabletop role playing games, even though a lot of people think that that's what's happening. It's not, and they're not. And if you need evidence that the progressive left is not taking over tabletop RPGs, just look at all of the indie RPG games that are out there right now, where people are pleading for the majority of 5th edition player base to play their games, and they're not, because that's just not where the direction is going right now. And I did a huge tweet about that, like a multi-tweet with like 26 different tweets in it about why. But at the end of the day, Lasers and Feelings is great. I'm talking about games that are more indie than that. But anyways, there's like probably 10,000 different games out there right now by what I would consider the progressive left. People who are so leftist that they have blocked me for not being leftist enough. And they're struggling to get people to play their games. And they are frustrated that they're not on par with, let's say, a Paizo or a Wizards of the Coast or whatever. I heard about Starcrossed recently. I don't know about Starcrossed. I'd love to hear more. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of the like very far left that plays TTRPG, that plays tabletop role-playing games, that are very frustrated that they cannot move the needle further left than it is. And I'd say the needle is probably firmly in the center, where it never has been before. And it's actually a very funny microcosm to the way that American politics are. And that being said, I know that there are people in the chat that are non-Americans that are not kind of inured to the American kind of atmosphere of politics. But that being said, what we see right now in tabletop role-playing games is that there's a very heavy inertia to stay at the center. And what center looks like doesn't please a lot of the people on the fringes. So the far left is mad that it's not further left. The far right is mad that it has moved so far left from them that it seems like lunacy. But in all honesty, it's right there smack dab in the middle. And I think that as we move forward, it's only going to get more, let's call it politically correct, but like in a way that is sane and makes sense. Like, you know, we can call them Romani because I can point to a stack of books as tall as I am on my role-playing shelf that would have the G word in it. We need books that move away from bioessentialism, but also demons get to be evil and devils get to be evil, and aberrations and beholders and so on get to be evil. Like, I'm gonna lose leftist followers for that, like I already have. But a mind flayer should be evil. A bearded devil should be evil. Like, these are just things that should be. Like, I don't understand why that's controversial, but it is to the far left community of the tabletop role-playing game groups. That being said, it's like, I think what our moral compasses are just don't understand that, like, working with evil monsters should not be far out, because we work with evil monsters every day. They just happen to be other humans. And I think we're way more inured to working with evil than we ever thought we were. But also we need to understand that evil doesn't need to be like a slathering cannibal, because it's not very often. The evil is usually just a state of mind you allow yourself to be in, and that's why our political landscape is what it is now. But that's way more philosophical than I meant to get to. Okay, but let's change this around a little bit. We are at 2 hours. Evil or just powerful and stupid? Really, there's not a difference between that. Like, powerful and stupid just allows you... Evil is evil, but it's up to how you play that evil. And yeah, I mean, is the landlord who kicks out a family of five because they didn't pay rent for 3 months evil? It depends on who you ask. Is the hospital that charges uh, a single um, adult male enough money to put him into um, terminal debt evil? Depends on who you ask. Um, is the policeman who accidentally kills someone, no matter what the circumstances, evil? It depends on who you ask. And I think that at a certain point, like, there are things in this world that you can point to and say are evil, and then you will understand that you work with those evils every day of every minute of every day, and not realize it. And I think when we use labels like evil, it's oversimplifying, obviously. But if we forget that there are things that we can label evil, like fascism is just evil, devils are just evil, um, alien menaces that want to suck out your brain are just evil, capitalism is evil. Well, it depends on who you ask. It really depends on who you ask. Remember, that Mont war criminal from World War II was a guy in charge of running trains. Yeah. Um, I mean, yeah. I mean, those trains were a real trolley problem every day, and that's what I'm getting at. Sometimes evil is a trolley problem that you have to choose to interact with. I've always had problems with non-PC term from Romani because Spanish we use it for a certain type of folks from, and they call themselves, and proud of it. I grew up thinking the term was like not offensive. Huh. Um, Capitalism is just a tool. It's how it's used, just like everything else. Yeah, and again, it depends on who you ask. Um, there are functions of capitalism as it happens today that are evil. I will go out on a limb and say that. There are things that happen within capitalism that are allowed and are evil. I think that's fair to say. Um, Capitalism is an umbrella under which evil things occur, just like communism, just like other forms of government and/or um, economic frameworks or whatever. But it can be, and it is. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a heavy topic and a heavy conversation. Amusingly, this has been one of the more discussed topics, probably in recent memory. But yeah, how let's do a level setting. How's everyone doing tonight as we kind of wind down? I had a communism question from my Republican best friend the other day that he couldn't answer. What's the communism question? But let me level set and just ask everyone how they're doing tonight. If their nights have gone well so far, and if they are looking forward to tomorrow, whatever they happen to be doing, whether that's work or not work. So, how are you doing? You looking forward to tomorrow? How's your evening going? Great. Looking forward to every day. That's fantastic. I love it. One day at a time. That's very often the only way to be. I'm still really digging these copyright-free lo-fi beats. This particular playlist has been the best so far. Although I'm gonna have to change it up. I can't just use this one. It's 12 hours though, so it's good for a handful of streams. Why are all his talking heads saying, I'm with Putin while lambasting the commie Dems? How do they justify that in their heads when they're backing the I would presume you mean literal communists. He shook his head and said, I can't answer that. Yeah, I mean, that's a real conundrum. If you're a Republican, that's a real conundrum. But that American conservatives have been a giant pile of cognitive dissonance for the last 15 years. I don't know how else to put it. They've been a giant pile of cognitive dissonance at least since 2007. At least. But again, that's a topic for another time. I could go on. I'm not a political commentator, but I do play one on TV. How about everyone else? Looney, how are you doing? TK, tell me how your day's going. I know you've been super quiet. Um, if you're still here, oh no, he left. Okay. I think Medic Budo is who was asking 40k questions earlier. Well, let's see. We're a decent amount over our 2 hour time frame, so I think I'm going to go ahead and stop there, especially if I'm going to get in some quality time here in a minute. But thank you all for hanging out. Thank you all for being so open to conversation. And I know we've been talking about a lot of heavy subjects. I'm doing all right, doing my nails while waiting to see if nuclear Armageddon happens or not. Yeah, absolutely. Um, that seems like the right thing to do. But we're going to go ahead and stop the stream. Thank you all for participating. It's been really fun. Probably one of the most well attended streams in recent memory. Thank you, Sajaro. You've been awesome for helping with that. And so I'm here every Monday. Let's see, watching 1998 Godzilla movie in Discord. I am in. That's awesome. I love it when people do that. I might have to do more stuff like that. But okay, we're gonna stop the stream. Please come back next week at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time, unless your streamer of choice is doing something at that time. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. And we'll talk more campaign planning and D&D and Warhammer and maybe some politics. Who knows? It seems to have been a pretty lively discussion in that direction. All right, y'all. Remember, I play and plan games for you. And one more thing, I'm gonna go back to streaming video games on Wednesdays, probably also 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. So come back for that. Wednesdays, 7:30 Mountain Standard. Final Fantasy V. We're finally finishing it. But okay, remember, I play and plan games for you.